Joseph, are you ready for another video? Then let's go, Joe!
It's time for Maths with Mr. Thomas.
Oh yeah, and we're still on Chapter 7, the Trigonometry and Bearings chapter. And we're now moving on to look at the cosine rule. I've split up the cosine rule across two lessons. This one is using the cosine rule to work out the length of a side, and the next lesson will be using the cosine rule to work out the size of an angle. But let's first of all introduce what the cosine rule is all about. Well, if I gave you this yellow triangle and asked you to work out the length of this side marked X, well, you'd probably be thinking about the sine rule, because all we've really learned in this chapter so far is using the sine rule. But what do you use? What do you need? What do you look for when you have the sine rule? We look for pairs. You do indeed, you look for pairs. And what do we mean by pairs? A pair is when you have an angle and the side across from it. Perfect, yes. So that is what we would be looking for. But if we've got something like this, we do not have any pairs because we've got this angle, but we don't know the side across from it. That is unknown. Also, we've got this side, but this angle, again, we do not know. So we don't have that pair either. And finally, this 7 would be paired up with this angle, but this would also be unknown. In order for the sine rule to work, we need to know at least one of the pairs. We need to know that 7 meters, and we need to know the size of that angle, or we would need to know the size of that angle paired up with the 10 meters. So you can see that the sine rule will not work. But what we can use instead is something known as the cosine rule. And if you have, like this example here, two sides and the angle between them, which is known as the included angle, you can use this formula here. So the side you want to find will be marked A. So because this side here we're wanting is going to be small a, it means across from that we would have capital A. And the B and the C are just going to be the two other sides. So our sine rule is A squared equals B squared plus C squared. Oh, it's just like Pythagoras. It is a little bit, yes. So the B and the C would just be the 7 and the 10. And then we're going to take away, oh, it's Pythagoras and more. Yeah. So we're taking away 2, B, C. Oh, this is getting exciting. I know. And then we're going to bring in cos. Oh my God, I can't take it anymore. And then we've got cos A. So if you want to work out the size of this side, the length of that side, and you know two sides and an angle between them, you can use the cosine rule. And the cosine rule to work out the length of a side is this. The A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cos A. And within the formula, the lowercase letters represent the sides. So the A, the B, the C, the B and the C. And the capital letters, this cos A, the A is going to be the angle A. And as it says down here, all the examples in this lesson are going to be using the cosine rule to work out the length of a side. So let's do it! Example 1. Calculate the length of the side marked X. So this is just from that last page. We know from here that we have two sides and the angle between them. And we don't have any pairs. So because it's two sides and the angle between them, start with what we're wanting to find. So within this formula here, A squared equals B squared plus C squared, really the A is going to be what we're wanting to find. So that there is going to be A. And because that is A, this angle will be capital A. And again, the B and the C, the lowercase b and c, are just going to be these two sides. And it doesn't matter which way around you have it. So A squared, well, we're calling it X, so you may as well just write X squared equals B squared plus C squared is just going to be the two sides, the 7 and the 10. So we'd have 7 squared plus 10 squared, or the other way around, 10 squared plus 7 squared. And then it's take away 2BC, which means take away 2 times by B. Times by C. And again, the 7 and the 10, get them back to front if you want. And we're going to be multiplying that by cos A. So it's going to be times cos. And what size is our angle? What size is angle A? That's the angle we know within this formula. 70 degrees. It is 70 degrees. Yes, well done, George. Good. If you work that out in the calculator, George, just type it in. Work it out in a oneer. What do you end up getting? Hold on a minute. You end up with 101.117 blah 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 blah. Good. So that's going to be x squared. Is that our answer then? Is it going to be 101.117? Well, have a wee look at this. If this length is 7 meters and this length is 10 meters, do you think this length here is going to be 101? Oh no, that makes no sense. What do you do? What do you do? Well, what we've done is we've worked out x squared. Oh, we want to get x. Good. So how do you go from x squared to x? You square root it. Good. So x is going to be the square root of the 101.117 blah 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 blah. And if you just press square root, whatever you want to do in your calculator, whichever way it works, press the square root of that previous answer. Remember, keep that answer on the calculator. Then you will end up with the 10.06 meters. Just to a couple of decimal places. Woo! Can we try another one? Yeah, of course we can. Example 2, work out the length of this side M in this green triangle here. Once again, if you have a look at it, we've got two sides and the angle between them. The cosine rule formula, a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. A squared is really what we're wanting to find. So here, the length that we are wanting to find is m, so that there is our a, which means we're going to start off writing, instead of a squared, we'd have m squared equals. The b and the c are just the two sides we know, so we've got our 26 and our 18, so we've got a 26 squared and an 18 squared. Again, it doesn't matter which way around you have it. Let's take away 2bc, so let's take away 2 times by the 26 times by the 18, and again, the other way around if you like, multiplied by cos of, it's cos of the angle. Good, and what is the angle? Well, it's the included angle, which is the angle between the two sides, which is 39 degrees. So it's cos 39. It is indeed, yes. Well done. William, you're a genius. And if you type that into the calculator, what do you end up with? You end up with 272.591. Again, keep that answer on your calculator. Then hit the square root button, get the square root of that answer, whichever way you do it on your calculator. Because we don't want m squared, we want m. So to get m, it is the square root of that. And if you work that out, you end up with 16.51 centimeters to a couple of decimal places. Woo! Example 3, work out the length of the side KL in this bluish turquoisey triangle. So going from K to L, that's what we want to find. Once again, you're looking at it thinking, alright, I know these two sides and I know the angle between them, and if I know two sides and angle between them, I can use that cosine rule, which is a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. And because I'm wanting to work out KL, well, this length is going to be called KL, so I'd have KL squared equals. You would indeed. Good. So working out KL, it is this length which we're calling KL, because it starts at K and ends at L. So we've got KL squared would equal, and the b squared plus c squared are the other two sides. So we've got the 1.6 and the 1.9. So we'd have a 1.7 squared plus 1.9 squared. Take away, and it's 2 times by those two sides. B and C are these two sides. So let's take away 2 times by the 1.7 times by the 1.9, and you multiply that by cos A, which is cos of our angle. Remember, A squared is this side here. That's going to be A, which means this length here is going to be our capital A. Ignore the letters they give you. They're just going to try and confuse you. So that there is the A, so it's going to be cos of 85. If you plink plonk plank that into your calculator, you end up with 5.9369 and so on. Hit the square root button, get the square root of that answer. Remember, do not round it, just get square root of that answer. Which means then KL will be 2.44 meters. Woo! Okay, example 4. Calculate the length of the side AB. So that's the side going from A to B, from here to here. Once again, they're going to put these letters in to try and confuse you, because really they're saying that's A, which means that's going to be small a. You could, if you want, rearrange the formula if you like, but I prefer just to ignore the letters that they are giving you. Forget about that being A, forget about that being C, forget about that being B. Really what it's asked you to do is work out the length of this side, so we're calling that AB. going from A to B. But you know, really, with that, you've got two sides and an angle between them, so it's a squared equals b squared plus c squared. A is what you're wanting to find, so really this here is going to be small a, and if that's small a, then this angle here, forget the c that they're giving you, call that capital A. So that there's going to be a, that's what you want, and then it means b and c are just going to be these two other sides, because b and c would be these two other angles, so this would be lowercase b and c. So we're wanting to find out the length of side AB, so we'd have AB squared equals, and then B squared plus C squared is just the other two sides. So it's the 8 squared and the 6.1 squared. So 8 squared plus 6.1 squared, just using the formula, take away, 2 times B times C is going to be 2 times by, the 8 times by the 6.1, multiply by cos of our angle, and the angle is 57. It is 57, good. So it's multiplied by cos 57. Put it into your calculator and you get 48.053 in a string of decimals. Keep that string of decimals on your calculator. Hit the square root button or inverse something, whichever way it works in your calculator, to get the square root of that. And AB then works out to be 6.93 centimetres to a couple of decimal places. Example 5. Here is a sketch of Marley's garden. She wants to put a small fence around the perimeter, which would be going around here and here and here. So she wants to put a wee fence right around it. What length of fencing does she require? Well, we can see that within this. We know this is 17 metres. We know this is 18 metres, but we need to work out this missing side. So we're using all of our knowledge. You can see once again we can't use pairs, we can't use the sine rule, so we are going to be using the cosine rule, and that is when you have two sides and the angle between them. So because of that, we could work out the length of this side x. So cosine rule, a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. That is the cosine rule to work out the length of a side. The side we're finding here is x, so we'd have x squared. A squared just becomes x squared. Equals b squared and c squared are just going to be the two other sides. So we've got a 17 and an 18. So it's going to be 17 squared plus 18 squared. Take away 2 times by those two sides. Multiplied by cos of our angle. And the angle here is the 66 degrees. If you blank that into your calculator, you end up with 364.077 blah 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 blah. But we are wanting to get x, not x squared. So how do you go about getting x? Oh, you have to square root it. You do, good. So x is going to be the square root of the 364.077. And if you work that out, you end up with 19.08 meters. So the length of this bit of the garden to this bit here is 19.08 meters. So we now know that. That's 19.08. Well done. Marley, what would you have to do after that though? Is 19.08 going to be the answer? No. Why is it not? Because it's asking you for the perimeter of my garden, and the perimeter is when you add up all of the sides. So that's 18, that's 17, and that's 19.08. So I would be adding them all together. You would indeed, yes. So it means the perimeter is going to be the length of all the three sides added together. And if you work that out, you end up with 54.08 meters. Woo! Well done. Nice house, Marley. And to finish off, example 6, let's try a non-calculator problem. Non-calculator? Yes, non-calculator. Let's see if you can do it. So in triangle ABC, AC is 5 meters. We can see that there. BC is 6 meters. And the cos of angle C, so the cos of this, is going to be 1/5. Work out the length of side AB. So going from A to B. So that there is what we are wanting to find. This is our unknown that we want. How do we go about doing it? Well, yes, once again, we know it's going to be the cosine rule, mainly because this is a lesson in cosine, but we've got two sides. We've got the 5 and 6, and you've kind of got the angle between them. It tells you the cos of that angle there is 1/5. So, because we've got two sides and the angle between them, kind of, we can use a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. So because we're wanting to work out AB, we're just going to say AB squared equals Once again, ignore the letters really that they are giving you. And what you want to do is you want to think, well, that's what I'm wanting to find. So that there is going to be A, meaning that there would be the capital A for that angle there. Which means B and C were going to be the 5 and the 6. So we'd have 5 squared plus 6 squared minus 2 times by the 5 times the 6 multiplied by, and yeah, the cos of the angle. Make sure that you don't say cos 1/5. That would be totally wrong. What you want to do is you just want to multiply it by 1/5 because it tells you that the cos of this angle is 1/5. So instead of saying 2 times 5 times 6 times cos 1/5, it tells you the cos is also included with that fifth. So it's going to be 2 times 5 times 6 times by the 1/5. So this bit here, it's just like the cos A, except it's giving you cos C, but that bit there is 1/5. So it's 2 times the side times by the fifth. Hopefully that makes sense. If you work that out, again, you want to try that without a calculator.
Oh, so 5 squared is 25.
It is.
6 squared is 36.
Good. And 2 times 5 times 6 times the fifth.
Oh, well, a quick way of doing that, look, you've got the fifth, which is when you divide by 5, and you've also got add times by 5. So really, they cancel out.
They do indeed, yeah. So really you've got the 2 times 6, which is 12. So it's 25, add 36, take away 12. You could also do 2 times 5 times 6 and then divide it by 5. You still get 12. If you work that out, you end up with 49. So AB squared is going to be 49. So this length squared is 49. How do you just work out the length of that side then? How do you undo the squared?
The square root it.
Good. And the square root of 49 is?
7.
Brilliant. So that length is going to be 7 meters.
Yay!
Well done. Woo! That is quite a few examples using the cosine rule to work out the length of a side. Once you feel you have mastered that, feel free to move on to the next lesson using the cosine rule to work out the size of an angle. That is when you rearrange that formula, so the formula is different. It is given in the exams, but you do need to know how to use it. Best of luck. Try some of the questions in the TJ book, or Zeta Maths, or Lecky and Lecky, which I always think is a bit rubbish. Try whichever book you like. Best of luck.